Hello, dear friends, dear viewers of DMR TV. You're welcome to tonight's edition of Mountain Echoes, live on DMR TV. It is weekend, Friday's edition, and we want to thank you all for joining us and for your persistence with us from Monday to Friday. We are glad to have you join us. Now, Mountain Echoes, we look at issues that cut across from society, religion, sport, politics, education, and every other, even business. We talk issues that cut across the board. Tonight's edition, we are going to be talking religion, and you're going to be having the ride with me on this edition with a priest of the Diocese of Buea who've been out of the country for a very long time. He came back to celebrate his 25th anniversary right here in the Diocese of Buea. He is a writer, a publisher of many books, which you are going to discover in a very short while. My name is Jude Mbako Munyo. I'm your host for tonight's edition. Just hang on. In a very short while, we are going to meet our guest on Mountain Echo today. You're welcome back. My name is Jude Mbako, and my guest today is Reverend Father Basil Sede. He is a priest of the Diocese of Buea who is based in the United States of America. Well, he works in the Diocese of Charlott. And just to highlight here that Father Basil comes from, then it was the Buea Diocese that combined with Kumba and the others, and he comes from Fiango. He is a priest of the Diocese of Buea since 1998, and the 16th of April 1998 when he was ordained, and he holds a PhD from the Pontifical Lutheran University in Rome in comparative philosophy. He is a priest for over 10 years in the Diocese of Charlotte, in the United States of America. So he's back to celebrate his 25th anniversary in the Diocese of Buea. My guest is Reverend Father Basil. You're welcome to Cameroon.
Thank you, Jude. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be with you today.
So how does it feel being back in the country after a while?
Home is home.
Home is home. So happy anniversary.
Thanly so much.
25 years of priesthood, which we are going to be looking at in a very short while. We just want first that you tell our audience who you are. Who is Reverend Father Basil?
Reverend Father Basil Sede was born in Fiango, Kumba, and I went to school, elementary school in Kumba, STS Fiango. I went to St. Francis College, Fiango, for middle school, secondary school, so to say. I came over to Bishop Rogan College for high school studies, then went forward to St. Thomas Aquinas Major Seminary when I was ordained on the 16th of April 1998. So this year is my jubilee year, together with Father Isaac and Father Willibrod. 3 of us were ordained on the same day.
So since then, can you paint us a part of your priestly journey? Since after your ordination, how
my first parish was Queen of the Apostles Parish, Ikassa, in Jan Division. At that time, the Diocese of Kumba was not off. Father John Chamda, the parish priest of St. Charles Luanga, he was my first parish priest.
Okay.
So it's just providential that he was the one who hosted my 25th anniversary celebration last Saturday, 14th, in Moliko Parish, and he preached, reflecting who I was and who I am. So from Ikassa Parish, I was sent to Bishop Rogan College, Soppo, Buea, from 1998 to 2003. I think that has been my longest serving apostolate until my recent parish here in Charlott. There in Charlott, I was spiritual director and teacher or tutor in Vicar for like 4 years. And after that, I was sent to Mbonge, St. John Bosco Parish, Mbonge. I think that was in 2024, and that was a year equally that 2014. Okay. Sorry, 2004. 2004. Okay. Yes, I think that was the year also that St. Peter and Paul's Parish, Kondo Titi, was carved out of Mbonge. So that's part of my history and my story too. And I was there for 1 year. Then I was transferred to St. Anthony of Padua Parish, Buea Road, in Kumbambeng. Yeah, I was there for 1 year, and after that I was sent as principal of St. Francis College, Fiango, my alma mater. I was there for like 3 years. Then I was supposed to study in the United States. I went there for some reason. I came back, and that same year, 2008, I was enrolled in Université Catholique d'Afrique Centrale. That's the Catholic Institute in Yaoundé. That's where I did my master's in philosophy for 2 years. And then with Father George Keze, we started the Catholic University Institute of Buea, CUIB. At that time, Bishop Bushi was the proprietor and bishop.
Bishop of Buea.
Yeah, so I was there for a couple of months, you know, and I was sent out for some controversies. That's part of my story too. I was in Sase, so that same year I was in CUIB for like 4 months. Then I went to St. Joseph's College, Sase, as chaplain and tutor. I was in Sase now until the end of the academic year. That's when the bishop asked me to go to Rome and continue with the PhD study. So I left 2011. I went to Rome, and while I was studying philosophy in the Pontifical Lateran University, I also got the opportunity of doing some diploma program in economy of communion and management sciences in Sophia University in Florence. So I was shuttling between 2 universities, and that's when I had the opportunity to go around in so many European countries and to Canada for research, because as you rightly said, my focus and specialty was on comparative philosophy. Yeah, and at the end I graduated in 2016. But before my graduation, I was already in Charlott. How I found myself in Charlott again is another major part of my story. And since then, you know, I've been in Charlott. Why in Charlott? This is my 3rd parish, Our Lady of Consolation. That's where I am now.
All right. An interesting story. We'll definitely be coming back to, because you have a book that actually goes detailedly into such a tale of an African priest. Yes. We'll definitely be coming to that. Now, when you're out there, you've been out there for like about a decade, out of your out of your diocese.
Actually, I left the diocese in 2011, if not 2010. You know, and since then I've been out.
So what's the feeling being out there from your diocese of origin? What was the life in the ministry comparatively? You're a comparative philosopher. That of the Diocese of Buea and out there in the West, what comparison can you make?
Fundamentally, yes. I remember in the seminary, they used to tell us that we serve wherever there are souls. Even though I can add now, wherever there are God, body and soul, you know, wherever there are human persons. So pastorally, I think it's the same. It's the same work that we are doing, whether in Ikassa, where I started, or here in the United States, which we say is a first world country, is the same apostolate.
Right.
Yes, but then of course the differences are clear, because especially from the perspective of infrastructures, you know, over there, as we know, they are far advanced. You know, you hardly get the type of road network. You know, you don't have lights, water crisis. Very, very rare.
So the challenges of your Christians are not the same, like
no, they are not the same. Yes.
So the mindset is different, the philosophy, the culture.
Yes, the culture is different.
Which makes worship life too very easy comparatively to what we have here. The crisis that people bring to you as a priest are different from what they bring to our priest here.
Yes, you know, the difference, if we may to be very practical, is that over there is more formal. For example, the secretary gives you a schedule in the morning, and it's difficult to get out of that schedule. You are like programmed. That's the society, and that's what makes it boring to some of us, because we just want to keep going.
Spontaneously.
Yeah. Whereas here, it's very normal. You know, you get up in the morning, they just call you, this man is sick here, this what's happening. You know, you more. It's very obvious to get somebody sitting in front of your door, or to get a fellow priest coming to socialize with you. Like yesterday, I just went to Buea Parish. Right. I was going to visit Father Joe Bomsa. Of course, Father Joe, I was there. Peter, and everybody was there, and it was just like a feast.
A family reunion. For
me, those are some of the things I really missed, truly speaking.
Wow.
Yes, because over there, you are mostly on your own.
Scheduled.
Yeah. I remember Father Peter, Maza, and Engebe, they just came for now. They live with me. After orientation, they will go to their own parishes. And we got a funeral that I had to say in another church. They were surprised that I did not even know that was like the first time I was going to that church in the same diocese. Because if there's nothing that I go to do there, I'm not going there. Just like most people will not know where my parish is until they are assigned there. Here we have the system that today you have a meeting in this parish, something brings you here. You know, there's a lot of the social interaction.
It's just so beautiful here.
I think that is the strength of the Africans.
Okay.
And that's what my previous book, Comparing Cultures and Religions, those are some of the things I was highlighting.
Okay. We'll come to talk about some of those of your publications. Now, you're back to the Diocese of Buea after this while to celebrate a long journey as a priest, 25 years.
Yes.
You're back. Let us look at what you're celebrating for these 25 years.
Yes.
What exactly do you have, or were you celebrating last Saturday at Charlott?
It's Thanksgiving. I just wanted to thank God because normally a jubilee is a time to celebrate, and it's a normal tradition in life that jubilees are celebrated. In the church, there's no, it's still the same. The church is not an exception. Every priest I know celebrates 25 years. And I did it in Charlott. I mean, for whatever reason, almost my entire family is there, and even most of my childhood friends, almost all of us almost all of them have relocated that way. So I got the cream, I got everybody already. It was an intense celebration of my friends and family for 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But I told myself, there's no way you can thank God enough without coming back home. That's why I made, I had to actually do a celebration in Fiango, where I was born, my home parish. But, you know, with politics and a few things, it was difficult to get there. So I said, whatever the case, I've got to celebrate it. So on Saturday, that's the Thanksgiving I was celebrating here in Buea. But on Sunday, I went to my alma mater, thanks to the Bishop of Kumba who accepted, and the principal of St. Francis College. So for me, it was wonderful joy, homecoming. Then all my neighborhood, our house is just opposite the school. Wow. So the whole quartier was there, and it was just a wonderful celebration. After that, I went to bless my father's grave. My father died in 1994. Okay. So he's buried there in Fiango, and I have one of my very strong Mami Kigam. She died in Buea Road. I had to go bless her own grave too. I got my friend Elan Benjamin, my friend and classmate. He died in the United States a couple of months ago. I'm just from blessing his grave too. So my jubilee was just Thanksgiving and remembrance. As you said, it has been a long journey, and I can't thank God enough for his blessings unto me and the Christians for the past 25 years.
Those 25 years, if you were to look at it, some of those high points, those hallmarks of your priestly journey, which ones are really exciting to you, that you sleep at a point to wake up and you smile and beat your chest to say that, thank God, I took the right decision?
I think I like that question because, as you said, there are high moments and there are low moments. Right. And that's why I decided to publish my autobiography. Because out there, people are very interested in African stories. So I got a few friends who used to, you know, edit some of my books, and sometimes when we sit together, you know, I tell them my story, how I grew, where I worked. And they said, but Father, you have a wonderful story. Why can't you write your autobiography? And that's what I've done. I think my first highlight, I was quoting my rector somewhere here when he told one class in the seminary that the ministry will teach you a lesson. You know, sometimes we take so many things for granted, even as priests. I remember I left Ikassa as a young priest. I went to celebrate the wedding of some of my friends in Yaoundé. They came from the United States. We grew up together in Fiango, so they wanted me to say that, to celebrate that mass. In principle, I had to get a written permission from the priest of that church. Canonically, that's what the law states. But with that excitement, I took for granted. I went there. I didn't know that the priest himself was at the background just taking notes. Immediately after the mass, he came to the sacristy and started confronting me. And I had to apologize that I have done the wrong thing. Then it dawned onto me that I was learning a lesson the hard way. You know, my rector had said the ministry will teach you a lesson. So those are some of the things. What most often when I sit, I want to do anything now, I really think well, so that I just follow it. You know, so that's one of the. And then back in Ikassa, there was a time Father John and myself, we missed a boat accident. The engine got bad in the water, in the river. We almost drowned, thanks to the boat rider, Mr. Effiong. He could swim. Okay. So he jumped in the water, he held the boat with one hand and swam with the other until for almost an hour. Wow. So those were frightful experiences, but interesting, you know, all the trekkings. Those are the things that touch me and make me to thank God that even the way I am today, there will be no trekking on foot, there will be very little of those physical stuff, but those parts of the ministry are exciting to me. Then another excitement that I have too are the times that we've been together with friends, priests, you know, sometimes you're really happy, sometimes through challenges, but at the end of the day, it keeps going. Most of all the times that I celebrate the sacrament. Yes, when you baptize people's children, you listen to confession, you celebrate weddings and masses, you know, every moment in my life, every priestly service is a moment of grace and thanksgiving. Right. That in spite of myself, I'm able to be a channel of God's blessings to others.
Which means the journey has been very fruitful. And if you were to, many people always say that if I were to come back in the next life, I'll choose to be what I am today. Meaning that if you were to come back, you definitely remain a priest.
I think the paradox is that sometimes when you have your difficulties and you listen to the other people, you know, we do a lot of counseling too.
Yes.
You know, you get a couple come in and you ask yourself, so if I come to my next world, will I really want to be at the other side?
Yeah.
But at some point too, you look at your own difficulties, you say, God, but why am I here? So at the end of the day, it's God's will. It's a vocation. So it's even difficult to think. I just tell God, whatever vocation you want me, if I were to come to my next life, you let it go.
Within these 25 years, you've mentioned those moments that were very challenging. But in terms of the practice,
yes,
your job, your work, your vocation, where have you had those moments you really regret much? Where you find difficulties at the time, you have those low points too. You may have had the high points.
Yes.
There are those low moments that everyone comes across, be you a priest or
yeah.
So where are those moments too which you might want to share with us and state how you overcame those moments?
I think that's a very tricky question, but that notwithstanding, you see me, the title of my book is The Strange Option.
Yeah.
So there are many options in life. You can be a tailor, you can be a medical doctor, you can be whatever, but the priesthood is an option that I can say I chose in the sense that it was available for me and God called me to be a priest. But whatever happens, there are lots of things that happen there that may not follow normal human logic. That's why I call it strange option. First of all, in itself, when we were growing, I don't know how you looked at priests now, but we looked at priests as very, you know, strange people.
Yeah.
First, they lived, but at that time, African priests were not really very common. You know, we got, like with us in Fiango, we used to have a European priest. Before African priests like Father Ngalame, Father Jervis, you know, they started coming into work there. They lived in isolation, no women, no children, beside the graveyard. So it was strange. Nobody wanted to be priest, you know.
Yeah.
But at some point it happened that I started and I went in there. So in there too, there are some, talking about low moments, sometimes too we feel really lonely. You know, and sometimes you feel like Jesus Christ himself was a victim. You feel that maybe some decisions have been taken which were not really supposed to have been taken that way. But you just got to understand, as you said, that they push you low. But at some point now, you got to realize that, well, like I remember when I was in CUIB, I think that's one of my lowest points too. I was literally dismissed. And the bishop wrote 6 points, if not 7, to sack me from there with Father George Keze. No points there, at least talking about myself. None was correct. Everything, they were all lies. But I had to obey the bishop, pack my things, and went over to Sase. But thank God at some point he discovered the truth, and I'm sure that's why he sent me to Rome. So that was a very low moment too in my life. But that notwithstanding, my principle has always been, all my ex-students, they know everything works for the good of those who love God.
Right.
Romans 8:28.
All right. Father, those options are in your new publication. This is the 5th book you're publishing.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about the books you've published. You earlier published, I think 2 years ago, a book, that was in Douala when you came around.
Yes, yeah.
We are told that in Douala you published Hegel's Philosophy of History, a challenge to the African thinker.
Yes.
Compliments to Leopold Sédar Senghor.
Yes.
That was, what publication was that?
That was my 3rd publication.
The 3rd publication. Before that, you had published Catholic Religious Studies.
Yes. That was my 2nd publication.
Which is the first?
Certificate Religious Studies.
Certificate, which was about what?
It was just basic religion. They were using it Form 1, Form 2, Form 3.
Okay.
So actually, certificate Catholic Religious Study is like a 2nd edition of Certificate Religious Studies.
Okay.
I call it my 2nd publication because I added a couple of things there too. But it's all the same trend of religion. I think till today, Mr. Pascal was just showing me some copies in Buea, so they still use it Form 1, Form 2, Form 3.
For religious studies.
Religious studies.
Because students still write that exam.
Yes, they still write that exam. Yes.
So that was the 2nd. Now this 3rd one that has to do with Hegel's Philosophy of History. I think you may have delved now into the philosophy of your doctoral education. Why this choice? Is it more of an academic publication, that which goes with your priestly vocation?
It's more academic, politics, and practical. Because remember, African thinking was like an option for me in my philosophy, but then comparative. So I'm not only doing African, but I try to compare it with the Western. So briefly put, I was inspired because of what Hegel said about Africa, which I'm tempted to think is true.
Which is?
That he says Africans are, our rationality is somehow limited. You know, Africans, he put the animal man, put it that way. So Africans are just like animals. They don't really reason in a way. You know, so everything is just jungle. Everything is bitter. So it's a very radical way of painting Africa. But the first thing I did, using the philosophy of Leopold Sédar Senghor, was to debunk Hegel. To say what Hegel said was really wrong, because every human being is rational. There are 3 types of soul. The vegetarian soul, which is like vegetable leaves, plants, they die and the souls die. There is the sentient souls, that's animals. They just work by instinct. But all human beings have what we call rational souls. Whether you are black or white or whatever, all of us have rationality. So I use so many things now to debunk Hegel. But at the same time too, Hegel may be right, because the things that happen in Africa, I was quoting Cameroon and other African politics. Think of the embezzlement. Think of what we are facing today. That's why, like in this other book, my conclusion is that the Cameroon I knew, even in the time that we were growing, is not the same Cameroon today.
A lot has changed.
Everything has changed. So I'm giving my recommendations. As far as Hegel's philosophy of history, I'm giving recommendations to the government, to the church, and to the community, what we can do to change Cameroon. And that's the same thing I try to do here too. And one of my appeal is that people should read.
Which is what every PhD fellow, a PhD holder like you are, should be doing, solving societal issues like we have. Now, you also have comparing cultures, religion in a post-modern world. And tell us about this other book. It should be your 4th publication.
Yes, that was my 4th publication. It was launched in 2021. This one, I put the subtitle there is Joseph Kit-Zebo versus Jacques Maritain. That's the subtitle of that book. It's comparing cultures and religions in a postmodern world. Joseph Kit-Zebo versus Jacques Maritain. Joseph Kit-Zebo is an African historian. Jacques Maritain is a Western and a Christian philosopher. So practically, I was comparing African culture with the Christian culture. That's why if you look at most of my pictures in my books, I try to put in the color with the African. Yes. because we too, we have our culture, that is just supreme. But that notwithstanding, I brought in the Eastern cultures, the European culture, African American cultures. I just put every culture in it comparatively. But I was trying to use the African culture in itself as a litmus test. Granted that Christianity has purified a lot in our culture too, there is a lot that we do which makes us even to be like more Christians than even those who brought Christianity to us. So those are the things I'm highlighting.
All right. Now, this other one which I want us to, we've talked about this last publication. You launched this few days ago, I guess,
yes,
here in Buea.
In Buea.
So Buea is blessed. For those who might want to get a copy, maybe you just show a copy to the camera. Yeah, that is the strange option.
I think there's an article there on the Cameroon panorama coming up.
Okay.
Yes.
So for those who are able, please get Cameroon panorama. You read detailedly, or you get a copy. How much is this sold?
In the United States, it's $24.95, say $25. But when I was launching, I used the proceeds to help my alma mater, St. Francis College, and my home diocese, home parish, Fiango Parish, and I think I also supported the co-cathedral with the bishop. You know, I just told people to give, and thank God people gave generously, and I did not really put a price tag on it.
Okay. But how do we, if you want to get a copy of this, how do we do that?
If you want to get a copy of this, I'll leave some copies with, I think I'll give Father Michel Nganchob, is in Douala.
Okay.
I was thinking of leaving some with Father John Chamda. He got a few copies already, but most of the copies I brought are already gone.
All right.
But then I think if people really need them, which I think people should really read them, because there's a lot here, not only on religion, but on politics and on sociology. What does it take to be a priest? You know, those are some of the things. It's good for people to know.
The strange option. Earlier you told us that the journey in there is a strange one.
Yes.
What's peculiar about the journey in this book? It's your fifth book, I guess.
Yes.
So just give us a snippet of what is in the book here.
The peculiarity that, first of all, the book is in 9 parts of three chapters each. So the peculiarity of this book is that it is my story. Like the person who did who presented, you know, Father Michel did it in the United States, my friend Dr. Janarus Asongu, who was my classmate in the major seminary. He did the presentation. So he was challenging everybody to write his or her own story. My story is unique, and it takes a lot of courage to write your story. I mean, that's so why the highlight of it all is that originally, for example, I was not the one in my family who even opted for the priesthood. My senior brother was the one who became my altar server, whatever. But at some point when I was in middle school, in secondary school, I just felt encouraged. The Holy Rosary sisters who were there, you know, they appointed me president of the altar servers. I was just a casual altar servers.
And that's where your calling came.
Yeah, that challenged me. I said, how they leave every other senior altar? I didn't even know how to use the turebo, some of those. But they said, Sede Basile, you are altar server. You know, then at some point in Form 5, I was given the prize of the best student. That's one of the shocks I ever had in my life, because my friends knew we were one of those going for adventures today, harvesting mangoes, dodge to go watch football match, Kamak Meme walks, things like those. But apparently these people saw something in me. And it so happened that I found myself in Bishop Rogan College. I said, okay, maybe I'll get my advanced level like others and go. But as it were, it just happened that, you know, good, nice stories, you know, things just happening in there with Father Humphrey Tata, John Bidzenui, may his soul rest in peace, Sylvester Sungwa. I saw the way these priests were going. My friends Aloysius Defoe, George Yenika, Bishop Bibi also met us there, you know. So I found the family there, and I asked myself, what's the reason going out there when I can get into this journey too? And then at some point I kept praying, and many other things happened in between, and that's how the seed of vocation kept growing. And when I went back, I told my parents, told my friends, I'm going to the major seminary. It was like a joke. And then at some point I said, no, maybe I should go and withdraw. I came and met Bishop Awa. I said, give my document. He had a few other friends of mine had come and we took away their documents, went to the university. When I came, the bishop looked at me. He handed my file. As I extended my hand to take it, he said, no, Basil, I'm not giving you this. You go to the seminary. And when I went and met my friend, Dr. Pius Mosima, one of those who edit most of my books, we were classmates, he had failed the advanced level. He looked at me and said, Basil, why is it that the bishop will allow the other people to go their way? And he insisted that you should go to the seminary. You go there. I will meet you there. That was the final straw. And as I was going home, I met Mr. Gabriel Njikang. He's also one of the prominent. He was my teacher. Okay, yes. And an ex-seminarian.
He's in the Diocese of Buea here.
Yes, he used to work at the Education Secretariat. Yes. I think he's retired now.
Yes, he's retired.
Yes. So he was an ex-seminarian.
Antonio Padua Parish Buea.
Yes. So he told me just one thing that strikes me till today. He said, Basil, I hear you are going to the seminary. Upon all my students, you are the one going to the seminary. But the only thing I am telling you now is that virtue lies in the middle. That's an Aristotelian principle. I never knew about that. But when I went to the seminary, as life went on, I realized that that's a strong moral principle in itself. You know, sometimes it's good to avoid extremes. Not saying that we should compromise with evil, but then extremes are to be avoided. You know, so that's my life. Those are some of the highlights about my vocation story. And as I told you already, each parish where I worked has its own story and its own peculiarity. And that's why as I narrowed down to you every place that I've worked, that's how my book is. You know, so every chapter is like where I've worked. And what took me now from Rome, where I was studying, to Charlott is a chapter on its own. How the Charlott ministry started is a chapter on its own. How am I now, my present parish where I am now is a chapter. And my present parish now is typically African American. And you know, African Americans, they always live with the idea of racism is very strong in their mind. So I used to tell them that, you know, it's all about challenges in life. Because your challenge is, I understand better because I am also coming from a part of Cameroon that has its own challenge, the western part of Cameroon. We have our own challenges, the Amber crisis, you know, the French, English, whether we like it or not, there's an issue there. So that's what made me to treat the concept of generational trauma. That's a philosophical concept, you know, which I highlighted there too. And those are the things that made me to give my recommendations about the political issues of Cameroon too. That's why I told you that I got politics in my book too.
We are coming to talk a bit about your political views and your philosophies on Cameroon. But let me just, this book also captures, you're talking about an African-American community where the United States, you're preaching last Saturday at your 25th anniversary. The homilist, Reverend Father John Chamda, made a very remarkable statement, which I want to come back to it. He said that you are back home. And it is on you to also embed in other priests who are who are out of their diocese in Europe, in America, to be able to come back home where they were sent to, where their vocation came up to serve. Which means that there are some priests who, like you, unlike you rather, go out there and don't want to come back to the diocese. A few weeks ago, we had the Bishop of the Diocese of Buea suspending some priests who are coming from the diocese where you serve. We cannot give a close eye to this. It is a reality that some priests, when they go out there, they don't feel like coming back. I don't know whether it's their choice or it's the nature of the comparative cultures that you highlighted in some of your book. What exactly is wrong with African priests, some who go out and don't feel like coming back?
I think that's a very broad topic, which is not only limited to priests. I got a good number of people who have gone to like students for study. They are not coming back.
Maybe for some fellowship programs, scholarships, and
some have gone like work. I got some of my friends who were working even in the ministry. They came there for some work, whatever. They don't want to come back. So it's like there's some kind of a magnetic force that way. I think the first challenge comes back to Cameroon. We've got to fix this country because, I mean, these are some of the things. Maybe my next publication which I've already started, is African Americans and African diaspora philosophy. That's my next publication that is coming up maybe by the end of next year. You know, these are some of the things I'm looking forward to. What are we really doing out there? It's not just enough to send money to build hospital, give people small gifts. There is a greater need. Honestly, even like me serving in the church, sometimes I ask myself, is it really possible to get this organized system here and implement back home? But we've got to start from the theoretical perspective and see that we too really have to grow. Honestly, the difference is just so vast, and the temptation is great. But coming back to the priesthood, I think ours is a call and a vocation. So I'm not in any way comparing the priests who are there to the other people who are flying left and right. But like one of my friends said, he said, look at your children have brought all of you here. You know, one parent was challenging some other person who was a priest. I said, your children brought you here. Don't you think that me too as a priest, I can bring my own parents here too to get better facility and whatever? You know, the temptations are just enormous. Personally, I have like somebody who admires the philosophy of Hegel. He talks about the thesis, the antithesis, and the synthesis. The thesis is just like the way things are. At some point in life, whether we like it or not, crises come in. That's the antithesis. You get some of these clashes. And then synthesis, things now take their level. So with that which is happening now, I want to look at it as this is that time now for that antithesis. Is that it is happening. It's not only in the house of Buea, but so maybe it's the time now too for the bishops too, you know, to try to get that synthesis. You know, so things just come out. That's the way Hegel looks at life. The thesis, the synthesis, that's what we call Hegelian dialectic. You know, it flows into every aspect of life.
You master the situation in the Diocese of Charlott.
Yes.
You've been there receiving this praise, especially those of the Diocese of Buea.
Yes.
In a very brief way, can you paint for us the picture of the relationship between the Diocese of Buea and that of Charlott? And especially in this situation where we have the Fidel priests who are coming and some are being changed. Yes. Just give us a picture of the relationship between
there is what we call, I mean, I try to trace the origin of this partnership in my book. Actually, Charlott didn't just come from the air. I went to visit I was studying in Rome. There was a time, remember, if you have some archives, you know my name came out to be president of the Catholic University Institute of Buea. But there was a certain crisis back home that I couldn't come, and I was stressed out in Rome. My younger brother told me, rather than, because my family had been there long ago, is rather than staying there, since you cannot go to Cameroon, you come visit me in the United States, in Charlott. I came there, and fast forward, I got involved in one parish. But since my doctoral program was that which gave me a lot of chance, you know, so I had to stay there, and time and again, if they needed me in Rome, I'll fly to Rome, do some academic work for like 2-3 weeks with my moderators, then I'll come back. And then the bishop just allowed me, first he wouldn't want to endorse it, but Father George Keze, you know, he was the apostolic delegate at that time. He was working with Bishop Bushu, so he convinced Bishop Bushu, and Bishop Bushu said, okay, let him stay there. And when I stayed there, cut a long story short, the people got so, I was like the second African priest to serve in that area. First, before they brought me in, they had a lot of skepticism. But the first 2 times that I preached, they were just so fascinated. And they insisted. At some point, when they wanted to do my documents, they said I should pay. I said, I don't have money. I wanted to go. They had to beg me, you know. So, but then, once I settled, I realized that there were many other opportunities. Because remember, we had even started some partnership, university, CUIB, students were coming and going. There was a lot that I did for the first 2 years for the diocese and for the university. Okay. And then that's how we convinced the judge, Father George and myself, convinced the Bishop of Charlott and the Vicar General, who even has visited Buea Diocese about twice. So priests now started coming, and then this partnership. But the partnership is that we come as fide donum, which means you come, you serve for some time, and then you come back home. You know, that's why there is this controversy today, because if the bishop says come back home, that's the bishop, as fide donum, we are supposed to come back home. But as I said, I don't really want to get into that, because I believe and I know that the bishop is handling it out in his own way with the priests who are there. Each person has his own life. Each person has his private life. It's like I told you, some people go there as engineers of internship in their companies, they remain. Some people go there as, we've got priests who have even gotten married. We know that.
Yes.
Some have left. So at the end of the day, my dear viewers, your life with the bishop as a priest, that's your own connection, you, your bishop, and God. So I don't know their own stories for not coming back, but the bishop has put his cards very clear on the table. He's doing his job.
And the new priest you have welcomed,
yes,
in the Diocese of Charlott.
Yes, that's how whenever the priests come, they will live with me for like 2 months, sometimes even more, some less. But I remember Father Esoka did not live with me because they really needed him at that time. But that notwithstanding, he lived beside me and came almost every day for orientation and documentations and things like those. Then once they are settled now, they are appointed.
Is it a predominantly African community or
No. I am the one, my own parish where I am is predominantly African American. Okay. But the other places is a white man society like every other society. It just happens that now I have also worked in white people's parishes. But now so most of the other people, all of them, they work in normal white parishes. But there are Cameroonians there too, notwithstanding. And we got a Cameroonian community. Every second Sunday of the month, we get a Cameroon mass.
Right.
Yes, and there's a French community too. In fact, one of the bishops visited me from Congo. He received his French community. I was the one. They say in the eyes of the blind, the one-eyed man is the king. So I was the one like somehow taking care of the French community. But when their bishop came now, we met the bishop. So they have right now, as I was leaving, when Father Peter Paul and Engelbert came at the same time, a priest came from Congo. Okay. So he will take care now of the French community. So the partnership now has gone Pan-Africa.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yes.
All right. So you are a doctor.
Yes.
You have a doctoral degree in comparative philosophy from Rome.
In short, philosophy. It's just that my emphasis, my philosophical option is comparative philosophy. That's why almost all my books I try to compare.
Talking about philosophy, what's your own personal mantra, that philosophy about life as a whole, going beyond just the priesthood?
Yes.
What is your rationale about life?
I strongly believe in personalism. Jacques Maritain is one of the philosophers I've admired, talking about option, which John Paul II equally adapted that. Personalism is that rapport. That's why if you look at the end of my book here, the recommendation I'm giving to humanity is what the Eastern philosophers call Ubuntu. A human person is a human person because of a human person. Right. My friend Father Eugene Kazeze always say, with Ziwi Viri. That's one of the phrases I've learned from Lamso, which I used to conclude my book. And that's why, even for us priests, there is a book that my former rector gave us, Father John Ambe, Priest Need Priest, Emi Brar. I'm quoting that. So for me, that's my own philosophical option. It can be a theological option, whatever. I believe in personalism. I should give you a value. Your value as a human person, in spite of yourself, is very important.
A society
that
where
human relationship, yes.
where everyone is there for everyone. For everyone.
And I think that's the strongest part of humanity. That's what can only give a way forward to mankind.
After all these publications, most of them they are either tilted towards philosophy, politics, and priesthood.
Yes.
Do you have a moment you want to write about any other area, economy? Economic issues will kill us in Cameroon. Do you have any other from this? You're a PhD and you are also looking at solutions,
yes,
to the contemporary issues we have. Do you have any other area which you think that humanity, mankind, really need your intellectual assistance on, as far as your publications are concerned?
What I strongly believe in seminars, and that's why what I've challenged my friends a lot. If I celebrate birthday, for example, I get 200 people in the hall. my anniversary, I got about 800 people. We had to change the venue overnight. My younger sister had to spend almost $5,000 to hire a new hall overnight just to accommodate the people. But if I say, come, let us launch a book that is to address the Cameroon situation or the African situation, I bet you not up to 50 people turn up, even 30. And then they'll come and drink and talk and just, you know, I strongly believe that, you know, following your question, if I'm really following your question, that until we sit down and go to the drawing board. When I was young, I hardly watch films now, but I used to watch a lot of war films, and that which struck me was that time and again they would go to the drawing board, they would draw, then they map out. But we are, you know, I don't understand why Africa in general is in such a chaos. Cameroon, we are just chaotic, and we have a good number of medical doctors at home and abroad. We got thinkers like us, philosophers at home and abroad. We got theologians, priests, religious people, pastors at home and abroad. We got lawyers, we got engineers. So sometimes in some cases that we meet in our own social groups, I try to say, can we not come together? There's a group already existing in Atlanta, Georgia. But my worry with them is that they are more treated through philanthropy. Okay. I have no problem with
come back and
philanthropy.
give the fish.
I have no problem with that. I do philanthropy myself. But I believe that Africa or Cameroon, we have reached that level where we should transcend that philanthropy. And I bet you one of my friends just said, even though all of us just laughed, that if you stop Western Union or whatever just for 2 months, people will think. I think this is the time for us to sit down and ask what is the way forward to this. We take a lot for granted. As I'm quoting somewhere in my book a couple of months ago, this African summit, the president of the republic came there. Yes. And if those videos were correct, he was like, they were struggling to, you have such a president and nobody says anything. And when Cardinal Tumi said he should resign, people think that he was just joking. And since then, nobody has made those are things we should tell the public. We've got to change mentality, change the world view of our own country.
Don't you think there is a school of thought which looks at the declining rate of Africans reading, studying, thinking? They draw it back to the economic situation.
Yes.
What was the impact of economy on mental stuff, mental thinking, on reasoning, on philosophical work?
Yes.
On reading as a whole. What was
the economy? It comes from the knowledge, and it comes from the practical. Now, if things are not going on well, right? If people do not have jobs, and then they struggle to beg, that's economic issue. If we have I remember when we started CUIB and there's the same thing going on, we have tomatoes all over, and we are at that same level. You know, I remember when I went out there, I went to one petrol station and I saw soya in a plastic sachet. I was excited, you know. So they have known how to preserve the normal soya that we have there. Those are all economic things. And then we have economy now goes with technology, because there's a lot of production going on now that people just start from the lab. They get something going. Or you can stand here and sell things anywhere. People just go, you know, so all those things go together. But if we do not sit and think and say, how do we do it and make it work? And we have reached that level now that the younger minds are important. I believe that if we get younger people in the government now, they can help to put down modern ways of handling things, that you don't need to go to the toll gate and somebody stands there with paper. You don't need to. Can we not get people who have that mentality of overthrowing the old style and bring in modern ways of handling things, that you just put your card, you know, put the card there and that stuff opens?
I think that is what the government of Cameroon is struggling to do now.
It's struggling to do now.
But even though they are doing it, but we don't have the good route. That's a discuss for another time.
Even those routes, those are all economic issues that if we have good governance, because like I'm quoting one of the Nigerian authors that was in one of my former books. It is only when political issues are well handled, then political issues will flow. Whether we like it or not. There are people who have all these wonderful ideas, but the political system is not giving them
any room to.
I remember one of my friends told me he developed something really wonderful about all this tollgate technologies and all this stuff, he couldn't get through. Because people of the old school who sit in some of those offices like ministers,
they have an interest to protect.
That's why I've got to pray for challenge this system to change so that even all these other aspects that we struggle. Look at Kumba. That's my hometown. If I come for holidays, I need to go there to see my friends too. I cannot travel there any longer. Even the other time I went there, we can't hang out as we used to do because everything has gone down to zero.
All right. Let us look a bit. Where exactly? You say Kumba is your hometown.
Yes.
Kumba, like
Fiango.
Fiango.
Yes, that's where I was born and bred.
Okay. If you go, I don't know whether you've been able to go back there within this time.
I was there on Sunday. Last Sunday, I was there. I told you I said mass in my former school.
What is the memory comparatively to when you were born there and you grew up there? When you come back today and you see the devastation, what's your greatest or your saddest memory about that area?
Very few has changed. And my problem is, what does it take to change? It starts with the mentality. Because sometimes when you compare, you go to a place where you put electricity 24 hours. I don't think I've ever had blackout. Or you go to the tap, you don't see water. Roads are broken, they are not repaired. And you start asking yourself, what is it that makes those people there different from us? And should we take it for granted? Because they are white man, we are black man. Is it a curse or whatever? Can we do something? And I strongly believe that if we do, all of us think alike, we can push our country forward. So my joy is that at least this is the soil. I meet my old friends and whatever. But that which is sad is that every place looks pretty much the same. I don't understand how after 50 years, things are still the same. Whereas you go to a place where I am now, my home parish, the parish I am now in Charlott. When I was transferred there, that part of the town was just looking a little shanty. But for 4 years now, those who came there at that time will not recognize. Everything is changing. Things change so rapid. So what is it that pulls us behind and pushes them ahead? That's why I keep saying that we Africans, Cameroonians, we've got to think and see how to act from the thinking.
Father, you are from that developed, or you work in that developed area, and most definitely you must have had contacts, you must have had links,
yes,
or you must have been seeing people, Cameroonian diasporans, especially those who are of the Anglophone origin,
yes,
of this part of the country, those who are supposed to help us back home. You know, within the context of this ongoing crisis in the northwest and the southwest region,
yes,
we have a bastion of supporters and sympathizers who are in the USA. I don't know whether they're in Charlott where you work, but each time, if you have met them at any point, what has been the message to them as concerned the ongoing crisis we face here? At one point, some of them become very, very radical. They are extremist in their approach, which is not helping anyone here back home. We understand that those out there, you, the intellectuals out there, are supposed to have those great ideas to technically help back home without going through the physical approach. Of course, the church preaches peace. How do you handle such issues?
When you talk about those preparing to help, are you talking about political help? Are you talking about financial help? What type of help precisely?
In restoring peace, in bringing peace back to the battered northwest and southwest regions.
Yes, as I told you, I've met a few of them. I don't need to call their names, but my idea, first of all, one of the things that I don't like and which I know happens is that so many people are exploiting the system for their own benefit. I know a few friends who were very radical to point out the effects of the things that are happening back home, but come to think of it, they are doing it for their own private benefit. At some point, they use that to file for their asylum, and once they have their papers, they just sit quiet.
They quit, yeah.
Yes, but for me, as I keep saying, we've got to go back to the drawing board. It's like a couple of almost 6-7 years now since this crisis. You know, I remember 2016 when it started. I was ambushed in Buea. I came for vacation. I was going to greet some of my friends where I worked. And those guys came from the bush My senior brother also came from Europe with his wife. We were 4 of us in the car. They came, young people painted in charcoal with guns. I didn't know what was happening. They stopped us and they wanted to shoot. And unfortunately, somebody recognized me. I said, oh, this grandfriend and father, if you don't work for this road, I know he. There's other Mazien and Father Basil, this Pete, as they normally call me. They just begged us to go back. And we turned that car, went back. That same day, almost 10 people were killed along that road. That's 2016. Traumatizing. I even left earlier than my date because of that fear, you know. So since then, it has been, and that's why I said, let's go to the drawing board. There's a good number of solutions that we can have, but we've got to think the same. I don't think that it's necessary sending weapons, sending this and that, fighting. You know, the church preaches peace, and that is it. So I believe that if we come back to the drawing board, there are a good number of options that we can have. For me, the first option that I pray and I want to recommend for Cameroon is that we try to see how we can change the leadership of this country. Because sometimes when people sit in the old school, it's like myself, I've been in my parish now for like 6 years. If I were to change, maybe a younger person will come now to push a few things there. You know, Bishop Bushi was here, he did his own point. We see how Bishop Bibi has come, you see the vigor, you see all this, Monday we went round, wonderful things happening, structures coming up, spiritual programs on TV. You know, those were things. Bishop Bushi came, he did his own part. You know, we're changing now for a younger person who even has technology, he texts anything, you know, the other bishop would not do that. And that's why we recommend, yes.
Paul planted Peter, whatever.
So if the head of state now, Paul Buea, can shift, which I'm writing here, a new person comes in, then we get these new things to come in. We've got to be rational and realistic. It's not a matter of politics any longer, it's a matter of realism. So that is the political part. Now, coming even to the economic part, sometimes I got friends, they will contribute money, send medications to the hospital, send this one there. The government can do all those things. And nobody should misunderstand me. Those things are important. But is it not better sometimes too if we come and build some nice structures here like the ones we have in Europe and America? But again, that can hardly work because
the political
we've had people who have sent tractors and things like those, and they can't get those things out of the politics comes in. That's why, as I tell you, until the political issues are handled, many things will be left hanging.
Right. Father Basil, we are about quitting this edition of Mountain Echoes with a great insight to your philosophical and priestly life. 25 years celebrating. What are we looking forward to from here? As a priest and as a philosopher, as a child of God, what are we looking forward to?
First, as I said from the very beginning, it's a time of thanksgiving, and I'll continue being thankful to God because, as we say, the priesthood is a vocation, and God should continue to give me the strength. And looking forward, I'm looking forward for a more peaceful church, a more peaceful Cameroon, and a more peaceful partnership between the Diocese of Charlott and the Diocese of Buea, because there's mutual benefit. You know, Charlott supports us a lot financially, and whether we like it or not, we, the priests who are there, the people really and truly appreciate our services too. So spiritual benefits, financial benefits, everything works for the good of those who love God.
Right. The church in Buea, which is your home diocese, you've come, you've seen again. How pleased, how satisfied are you with the
stuff which, you know, but coming back to the practical part of the question, first is passion. Secondly, as I said, I live alone in a place that you got electricity 24 hours, and then in a place that the social life is not like here.
It's accommodating.
Yeah, honestly, just like I told you yesterday, we just drove to Buea Parish. It was a party. Now from here, I'm going to Father John's place, and I'm sure as I go there, the other people just come
people just receive
that is our, and it's just so wonderful.
Over there, they just don't receive people.
Yeah, you can be there for the whole week. If you don't have anything on your plate, you sit in your house, you sit in that. I mean, don't misquote me. You can go visit people, but before you go visit somebody, you've got to call, and that person will say, "I'm either not there or I'm at work." So what do I do?
Busy community.
Yes, so I got a small office in my house. If I finish my office work, I sit there. It's just reading, and I mean I'm not very much a TV fan, so you hardly see me watching films and things like those. So any spare time I have.
We know that over there too there's a social media, which the new technology is well evolved. Maybe you're on those platforms. Which ones are mostly used there? So that those who are following us.
It's almost the same. LinkedIn, Facebook. My younger sister does a lot of Facebook advertisement for me. But there's LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn too. And Google. Most of my publications are there. Yeah.
So if someone wants to get to you easily, how can that person get?
Just Google. I think even my email address and I can always give it. I'm very free in giving out my number, my telephone number, my email address, and you can search me on Facebook, Basil Sede or Father Basil Sede, one of them, or on Google. My church is Our Lady of Consolation Church. I think everything is
all right.
Fine over there.
Father Basil Sede, 25 years in the ministry. Thank you very much for your time, and once more congratulations and happy anniversary.
Thank you very much, and I thank my viewers. I thank my friends Thaddeus Ndonwi and Pius Musima and the others who helped me to edit my work. I thank the Bishop for his wonderful job. Thank the Bishop Emeritus who started our partnership, and Bishop Bibi is polishing it very well now. And I thank you so much for giving me this chance. Honestly, I did not expect that I was going to be granted to this privilege. I take it as a privilege, honestly, because home is home. So let the people home to know how we are struggling out there, and that God's blessings are universal.
Right. So that was it with our guest on Mountain Echoes tonight, Reverend Father Basil Sede, who celebrates his 25th anniversary as a priest. And in this edition of Mountain Echoes, we equally look at his publications. But if you really want to read more about this priest and philosopher, you can get to him through the channels he earlier mentioned, and you'll be able to get some of those books to enrich your spiritual and philosophical life. Well, we'll see you again on Monday when we would have met here for another edition of Mountain Echoes. I've been your host, Jude Mbako, entreating you to a very beautiful edition. Please stay on DMR TV as we continue sharing the light of hope from here. Have a blessed weekend. Bye-bye.